We're going to talk about durations of runs and the effect that it has on your body, the good and the bad effects, and how we can mitigate some of those ill effects from running really long. Exercise itself is oxidative on your body. It's a stress on your body. It is beneficial to our health because it's what's called hormesis. And hormesis just means a stress that induces a response in the body that is ultimately protective for the body. So your body may say, oh, there's a little bit of oxidation coming. Let's ramp up our protection. And that protection kind of not only mitigates the effect of the oxidation, but lasts longer than if you didn't do the exercise. The problem is that you start to give your body more and more oxidative stress. But there are some things that we can do. Because we could probably all agree that running is a healthful activity for all sorts of reasons. And we can list out dozens and dozens. But among the reasons that we're going to talk about here today is the effect that it has on your body with oxidation, and then how your body reacts to that oxidation in order to improve your health. And one of the reasons why running can actually prolong your lifespan and your health span. So let's start there. Now, how much should you run for optimal health? There's a lot of research on this, and a lot of the conclusions show that running 20 to 30 minutes every day is optimal. Now, if you run more than that, is it less optimal? Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're looking for a performance gain over a marathon or an ultra marathon distance, you might want to train more than 30 minutes per day, maybe. But arguably, you can make a case that your health gets a nice spike from the 30 minutes. And then if you run for 2 hours or so, that there's going to be some detrimental effects. Now, among the long list of things that we could say could be detrimental, because it's kind of like hearsay and it's situational, there is one thing. And that is going to come down to the oxidative response that your body has to exercise. Now, let's talk about oxidation for a second. Have you ever heard of a free radical? A free radical is essentially a oxygen. So when we say oxygen, we say O2, right? Because oxygen is not stable on its own, but with two oxygens together, the electrons balance each other out. It's stable. So oxygen predominantly exists in O2 form. Now, a free radical is an electron that is not stable in the outer shell of, let's say, an oxygen molecule. So that's why we call it oxidative stress or antioxidants, right? So this comes down to the free radical, the electron in the oxygen. And that unstable electron will want to be stable, and it'll grab electrons from wherever it can. And it may rob us something else of an electron. And that isn't necessarily optimal. That is oxidation. And oxidation is highly correlated with aging. It's highly and if we can't look at aging as if it's different from your performance or your health, because we can all probably agree just in logically, can't we, that if you're healthier, you'll probably live longer. If you're healthier, you'll probably run better. And we can mix and match those any way we want. If you're running better, you're arguably healthier and you might live longer. They kind of all feed each other. They're sort of manifestations of a similar thing. If your body is in better health, you're probably, healthier, live longer, perform better. So that's why we're talking about this here. Exercise itself is oxidative on your body. It's a stress on your body. But here's the real key, is that oftentimes a small stress like that, which doesn't kill us, makes us stronger. A small stress is beneficial to our health because it's what's called hormesis. And hormesis just means a stress that induces a response in the body that is ultimately protective for the body. So your body may say, oh, there's a little bit of oxidation coming. Let's ramp up our protection. And that protection kind of not only mitigates the effect of the oxidation, but lasts longer than if you didn't do the exercise. So then you have additional protection from oxidation after your run for hours or even weeks. So that is a good thing. It's called hormesis. Now you're going to sort of maximize your hormesis with running with a 30-minute run. But if you're going to run longer than that, the problem is that you start to give your body more and more oxidative stress. Well, the hormesis that happens isn't necessarily enough to blunt that extra stress on your body, the extra oxidation. And so one of the results is that if you're running quite a lot, you may have an oxidative stress on your body that is detrimental to your health. And that doesn't sound very favorable to me. Not only detrimental to your health, but arguably your lifespan, your health span. But there are some things that we can do. And the things that you can do come down to diet, of course. Now, it gets even more interesting here. So you would think that you might be able to increase your body's ability to deal with oxidative stress by taking in antioxidants. We've all heard of antioxidants before, right? Now, an antioxidant is something that readily contributes that electron that's needed to stabilize the oxidative stress. So antioxidants prevent oxidation, yay. And so we may want more of those. And antioxidants, can we name any antioxidants here? One of them that is like in the news, it's literally in the news. There's lots of products for this. You ever see those little packets like Emergen-C? Take your vitamin C. Okay, because vitamin C is an antioxidant. Now, you might think that, oh, I'll just take some vitamin C powder and increase my ability to handle the stress of a longer run. And it actually has, unfortunately, the opposite effect. And there's a bunch of research that I'm going to link after we're done here, but I'll link it down below on vitamin C actually impairing, like it actually does contribute to a little bit of buffering against oxidation, but it impairs your performance as well, but only taken in pill or powder form. What if you take not just vitamin C that doesn't exist in nature? I mean, can you just go find like a scoop of vitamin C out in nature? Don't think so. But you can find foods that are high in vitamin C, but they're also high in hundreds or thousands of other compounds, which are also antioxidant and also have all sorts of other things, fiber, nutrients, water, all kinds of stuff that you may want. And when you take a food in its whole form that contains vitamin C, you get the benefit of the antioxidant, and you also get performance gains. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about which foods you can take for performance gains. And I'll give you like a little cheat sheet so you don't really have to think about it too much here, but we're coming to that. So what foods could you take that have vitamin C, but don't suppress immune function, don't suppress DNA repair? Because oxidation, one of the main reasons that it's detrimental to us long-term is that it initiates damage to the DNA. So we want to protect our DNA, and then we can get the best of both worlds. Well, tea is one of the best ways you can do this. There are a number of foods, and we'll talk about them here, but tea is the green tea and black tea are the most potent in terms of volume. We'll talk about in terms of like concentration. You can take smaller things as well. But tea, what kinds of tea? Green tea and black tea. Personally, I don't like green tea. It tastes okay, but it kind of gives me like a headache. I don't really like it. Black tea, a little bit less. I'm not much into green and black tea, but I'm going to give you a third kind of tea that I've actually never had, or at least not recently, and I'm going to try. And they're super high in the things that we want without blunting that DNA damage. In fact, they help repair the DNA as well. So this is kind of take home number one, is that you may want to consider having green tea, black tea, or I'll just give it to you now. We'll come back to it. Lemon verbena tea. I've had lemon tea before, different kinds, but I don't know if I've had lemon verbena, but after reading this research, I'm going to go get some and have it in the morning. So you may consider adding these to your diet. Now, here's how you can mess yourself up. You can get antioxidants from whole plants. There's a lot of them in vegetables and fruit. So if you eat vegetables and fruit, you're going to be giving yourself a dose of antioxidants all the time. If you eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, you're just getting this all the time. And the risk of having oxidative stress in your body is very low unless you do a monster run and you're underslept and you're stressed out, then you may have spikes in oxidation. But you can only do what you can do if you're going to run 100 miles or 200 miles, or if you're going to be really stressed, or if you're going to be underslept or chronically underslept. You have a lot of oxidative stress going on in your body, and you want to blunt that with things that are high in antioxidants, like the 3 teas that I just recommended, like fruits and vegetables, especially cherries, blueberries, pomegranate, blackberries. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about herbs and spices too. But in terms of fruits, don't overanalyze it. Any fruit or vegetable is good. You want to pick, ideally, for antioxidants, you want to pick colorful, because the colors in them, the thing that gives it the color pigment are the antioxidants oftentimes. And so things like pomegranate, you want to eat the whole food, but even when reduced to juice, blackberry, pomegranate, and tart cherries, the juice, not even just the whole food, but the juice is also giving you the benefits of the reducing the oxidative stress and repairing DNA. But in general, you want to eat the whole food. In those cases, at least the research supports that juicing is okay. So whole foods are best. juice is still pretty good. And you can use juice during a run as part of your fuel. And you may put in some pomegranate juice, some tart cherry juice. You might even eat some greens during a long enough run, not to get the calories, but for the relief of the oxidative stress and the improved recovery that happens. So there are other videos that I have on the YouTube channel where I report the research on using watermelon, using watercress, and using spinach in order to reduce delayed onset muscle soreness. So when you do a workout, a hard workout maybe, and then the day after you're sore, and then 2 days after you're even more sore, and then it kind of blunts after that. That's called delayed onset muscle soreness. And we can reduce that 30 to 60%. And the research on this was done with elite cyclists doing time to exhaustion cycling tests. And they ate these foods: watermelon, watercress, and spinach. These are the ones that I'm aware that have been tested. And all of them show that there's not only a reduction in delayed onset muscle soreness, which by the way improves if you don't just have those foods right before the test, but if you have them in the day before and if you have them in the week leading up to. So the more of these you eat, the better you will recover. Why might you recover faster? Well, a number of reasons, but one of them is that you have less DNA damage, you have less oxidation in your body. That's a good thing for your performance, for your recovery, for your health and your longevity. So you should add these foods. What are these foods? We'll recap once again. They're whole plants, not in the pill form, not in the powder form, not in an extract form, although there are some exceptions in general though. And sometimes juicing them will also preserve these. So performance benefit, recovery benefit, health benefit, lifespan benefit. The problem is if you have meals or food items that are pro-inflammatory, then you're really hurting yourself here. You're hurting your life, your health, and your performance. So what foods are pro-oxidative? Take a guess. What do you think? The highest oxidative stress foods are meat and eggs and dairy, for some of the same reasons and for some of the different reasons. Something that I've learned recently, do I have the book here? Actually, I have it right here. Let me show you. So this came from this book here, How Not to Age by Michael Greger, that when you eat meat, among the many other things in it that you may or may not want to have in your body, one of the problems is that when an animal is killed, it's gonna bleed, okay? But only about half of the blood from its body is actually leaves its body before it goes to the fillet block in order to be packaged up, frozen, shipped, whatever, and arrive at your doorstep. But there's still blood. Now, we're not really supposed to be eating blood. I mean, imagine blood in your stomach. What does that signal to your body? There's blood in my stomach. I might be bleeding into my stomach where there shouldn't be blood. Should there be blood in your stomach? Probably not. I might have an ulcer, problem, red flags going off. And when blood enters into your stomach, the proteins in that blood are mixed with the acidic pH of your stomach. And that is extraordinarily, arguably, aside from cigarette smoke or a chemical toxin, this is the most pro-oxidative thing that you can do to your body. Alcohol, cigarette smoke or secondhand smoke, synthetic chemicals, and animal protein with the blood. Now, there's another one in the plant world that we'll come back to in a second here. But the pH of your stomach interacts with that blood and oxidizes the protein. And you have a lot of oxidation going on in your body. Now, one of the other things that happens that's really not wanted is that oxidized protein now can enter into cholesterol, into the LDL cholesterol. Your doctor is going to measure, if you get your cholesterol measured, they're going to measure your HDL and your LDL. Okay. And they'll tell you one of them is bad. It's not that one of them is bad. Your body's supposed to have HDL and LDL, but in the Western diet, we're getting these oxidated, pro-inflammatory, pro-oxidative proteins that now can enter because the way that they've mixed with the pH in your stomach, they now are able to enter into the LDL. And so if you have more of these, it's going to be detrimental to your health. So is it because you have more LDL? I don't know. But if you have higher LDL and you're eating animal products, then by definition, you have this oxidative stress at a higher level and it's detrimental to your health. So another reason why you may want to minimize oxidative foods, which are alcohol, dairy, eggs, meat, and even in the plant world, oil, especially oil that has been heated. But again, that doesn't exist in nature. You're going to go find some oil, and then how are you going to heat it? Well, I guess with the advent of fire, we could heat it, but I don't know when oil came onto the market, but not until there was an oil press, right? This is relatively recent in human evolution. It's not a natural food. So again, it brings us back to that same conclusion of a whole plant is best, not the extracts of it, not the extract of the vitamin C, not the extract of the protein, not the extract of the oil. These things pro-inflammatory, but the whole food itself with all of the lovely antioxidants it contains. Antioxidative. Good for performance, good for recovery, good for health, good for longevity. Yay. Now, let's take it yet another step further. What else can contribute to pro-oxidative stress in your body? The answer is, my friends, salt. Salt. I'm going to do videos for you here and trainings for you on salt specifically. We already have a couple, but we're going to go even deeper into it. But here is the takeaway message for you. If you're going to eat these products, I'm not going to take them away from you. Heck, do what you want. But if you eat a single meal, just one, that lacks antioxidants and is pro-oxidative, so if you have a steak with salt, scrambled eggs with salt and pepper, with cheese, even a single meal of this, here's what it does. It takes it puts such an oxidative stress on your body. Within 30 minutes to 2 hours of having that meal, you have, I believe it's something like 30 to 50% reduction in available antioxidants in your body. And that's not a good thing. Pro-oxidative. Why does that happen? Well, your body stores antioxidants in your body too. We're going to conclude with that. And it needs to use them up in order to buffer the oxidative stress of what you just ate. So you're going to have a downtick in your ability to fight oxidation in your body. But guess what? It only takes 30 minutes for that to come on after eating a meal high in the things I said don't have, low in the good ones. 30 minutes, you're down here, and it takes 2 to 3 days for your antioxidants to get back up to where they were. So it punches you in the face and it keeps you down for 2 to 3 days. But how many people eat meals like this, not just once every 3 days? And if you ate that once every 2.5 days, you're always in a depleted state. But a lot of people are eating this for breakfast and lunch and dinner and snacks and midnight snack. And we wonder sometimes why there's such health crises in the Western world. So the ideal thing to do is, number one, if you're going to eat these foods, that's a choice that you can make. I don't eat any of those. Sometimes I have vegetable oil in like a vegan dessert or something like that. It's pretty rare, but no meat, no eggs, no cheese, none of that. You do what you like. But if you do, you can blunt that downward, it's not a spike, it's a reverse spike, that downward fall of antioxidants in your body by eating high antioxidant foods with it. Blueberries have been shown to do this very well in the lab, both in mice and in humans as well. So if you're going to eat that steak, maybe have a half a cup of blueberries a half an hour before you eat that steak, or maybe just eat the blueberries and not the steak. Up to you. Or maybe have a green salad along with it. We'll conclude with this here. I have a lot more I want to talk about on this, but we don't want this to go too long. So let's conclude with this. Now, your body's really smart. Very, very smart. Your body doesn't want you to die of oxidation. So your body has a buffer against this, an internal ability to combat oxidation. Now, in the 1990s, there was a group of researchers who discovered something called the NRF2. Now, NRF2 has the ability is it antioxidizing? And you have lots of it in your body, but NRF2, so this is like a analogy for the NRF2, it has a suppressor protein bound to it. So you have this in your body, but it's not working as an antioxidant. It's just in there as like a backup soldiers. It's like the Army Reserves. It's like they're there if you need them, but you don't really deploy them unless you need them. So NRF2 bound with a suppressor protein, but when your body experiences oxidative stress, those free radicals, they come and they break that bond. Now the NRF2 is free, baby. And NRF2 flies around your body and antioxidizes all day, baby. This is a good thing. This is how your body protects you from oxidation. But of course, as we get older, NRF2 goes down a cliff and it's reduced by about 30% after age 50. Yikes. And we wonder why people, when they're getting older, maybe their skin, maybe they have like oxidized fat or proteins, and those would be like liver spots on the back of the hand, wrinkles, things like this. You start looking different as you get older. Why? Oxidative stress, baby. And NRF2 goes off a cliff after age 50. A lot of people look really good up through 40s, maybe 50s, and then start getting kind of wrinkly in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. There's many reasons for this. This is one. Here's what you can do to increase your NRF2. Now, this has been shown in the lab with across 10, now this is shown in humans too, but we can do more in the lab with animals than with humans. In the lab, across 10 different kinds of rodents. they were able to increase their lifespan by 6 to 10 fold, literally 6 to 10 fold by, I'm actually not sure if I don't think they injected them with a Nerf2. They just gave them the foods that produce Nerf2. So the foods we talked about here, I think it was a blackberry extract, cherries, blueberries, greens, the things that we talked about here. By eating a diet high in the antioxidants, boosted their Nerf2, increased their lifespan by 6 to 10 times across 10 different kinds of rodents. And here it is, for your running, it increased grip strength, it increased lifespan, it increased heart function, and time to exhaustion on a treadmill. So time to exhaustion on a treadmill, grip strength, heart function, lifespan, all improved by increasing Nerf2 through the consumption of these foods. So there is another way that you can boost your Nerf2, and that is with exercise, like running. Most of the research on this is done with cycling, but there's no reason I don't think we can't translate this to running. By running how much? 30 minutes per day. 30 minutes, baby. That will improve your Nerf2. That will give you the hormesis that you need to combat the oxidative stress, and will carry over additionally after that oxidative stress has come back down, prolonging your life, prolonging your recovery. So 30 minutes. I suggest you get about 30 minutes of running every day if you can. If you're going to run more, then you want to be consuming antioxidant rich foods. I've listed a number of them out, and you want to have them before your run, during your run, after your run. Again, there's other videos on the YouTube that you can check out on watermelon, watercress, and spinach, to go actually tart cherries and beets as well. There's great research on all of these. We have individual videos on all of those. Herbs are the most potent. So you probably want to have some of these herbs. But for the sake of time, we won't go super in depth. The problem with herbs is that even though they're crazy potent in antioxidants, you're not going to eat a cup of turmeric, are you? Probably not. Easier to eat a cup or two of spinach. But you should maybe be using things like daily green smoothies twice per day. Twice per day increases your antioxidant storage in your body and capabilities and lowers oxidation within 6 weeks. 2 green smoothies per day. Within 6 weeks, you're doing better. 1 ounce of mixed nuts. Within 12 days, you've improved your body's ability to handle oxidation. Tomato paste within 2 weeks, not tomato extract, tomato paste. Greens, mixed greens, especially spinach, within 3 weeks. So we're getting better from 12 weeks to 6 weeks to 3 weeks. Brussels sprouts, 6 days, my friend. And watercress takes the cake at 2 hours. So I suggest adding these foods into your diet. We'll go later on another training on specific herbs, but that's enough for now. Thank you so much for watching the Run Elite video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to learn more about your training, your nutrition, and how to maximize your performance, pick up a copy of Run Elite, Train and Think Like the Greatest Runners of All Time on Amazon or Audible today. See you on the next video.